well, Benji, Brady, welcome into another episode 23. Today, we're talking data drives decisions. Data
23
drives decisions.
All right, when you think of the number 23, what do you guys think of? What comes to mind first?
Michael Jordan.
Hey, 100%, yes.
The GOAT.
Michael Jordan, the only person that doesn't, yell at the journalist on court during the game about his son. So,
well, true, but I will tell you, as the topic is today, I'll let you mention it here in a second. Number 23 had the best stats in the history of the game. Plug. Yeah. There's a plug for you.
Yeah. I do need to go back and watch this documentary. I never did. I heard it was really good. Really good.
Yeah, I did too. That's actually a good note, Adam. I need to do the same thing.
I need to check it, especially as a filmmaker. I should check that. But I heard it was
and aren't you impressed with Brady's setup?
I am. For those of you that are watching the, I was jokingly called a vidcast. It's not,
vidcast.
Those who are watching on YouTube, Brady looks quite professional. It's nice. It's a nice change. It's nice to have you. Nice to have you where the sun isn't coming in behind you in your.
Yeah, I'm kind of partial to my office. I mean, I'm very cozy in there, But this is good. This is good.
I think a lot of people would say that they are just glad he doesn't have the stack of books. That was probably one of our most engaged episodes, like all the stack of books and documents he had.
I still used it. Up until last week.
What we didn't account for was for the changing of the seasons, and that's why last
and the
episode,
sun coming in like
yeah. So when you sign on, you're like, guys, the time's changing, and the sun's just beaming through my window.
Yep. So it was very angelic, though. Very angelic.
It was. Well, yeah. So like I said, today we're talking data drives decisions. This is a great topic for our listeners because this has been a key emphasis on any and every decision that you guys have made in your business. Data, I mean, you can't fight it. Brady, you've said it before, but hope is not a good strategy. And the counter to that is data drives decisions. Data lets you know, is something working? Is it not working? Do we need to pivot? Do we need to find another method? So I know this is a big thing for both of you. That y'all have really pushed with anyone associated that works for you, serves with you, whatever that is, data, and it's not just business, right? That's like your family, that's church, that's everything that lets you know, is what I'm doing working or am I wasting my time?
Yeah, data does drive decisions, everything you do. And just to give you a little history, I guess we might tell a little story as part of the history, but I was a travel softball coach for probably close to 10 years, and actually it was not 10 years, 7 years. The first 3 years we played park ball. For those of you who don't know, that's like the park in your local community or whatever. And I'll never forget the first year we were looking to. Matter of fact, Adam, I was talking to your wife at. They were both the girls were at a birthday party this past weekend. And we were talking about the girl that we were there for Mackenzie and Addie to have the birthday party. Her aunt, me and that lady's husband actually coached softball together. We were talking about softball stuff, and Emily was standing there. And I'll never forget because Emily was talking about y'all were about to start Addie with the whole, park season was starting up again. A couple of the girls there played together. And I was reflecting back to those days thinking, man, I remember when Sammy was playing park ball, we had to make the decision about 12U softball. That's the age of 12 and under is what they call 12U.
Yeah.
Are we going to continue? Because they didn't really have a park girls playing park softball after 10U. It really didn't exist. So the only way we were going to continue to get better was to go play travel softball. So I called this guy up and said, hey, I want to be able to be a coach. What does this entail? He said, Tag, you're it. Like, you're going to be the 2005 girls softball coach for travel for this specific organization. I said, fine, that works. So our first year, data drives decisions. Our first year, fall of 2016, we won 5 games out of 16 games. That's a 31% win percentage. Not very good.
Not very good.
No, so I had to make a decision. Like, I've got to recruit some additional girls. There was some girls that didn't want to play anymore. The next spring, we went 17-17, and we won 1 championship. So that was a 50% win ratio, 1 championship. The following fall, we won 20 games, only lost 6, and we finished first place twice. So we have a 77% win percentage, won 2 championships. And then the next spring, 2018, we won 26 games, lost 16, and won 5 championships. So data drives decisions. We had to make a few changes to our team, to maybe it's your organization, which we're going to talk about here in a second. But those things matter, especially in parents. Parents get really, Adam, I'm sure you could attest to this now. Parents get really uptight about their daughters playing softball to the point of, walking up to the fence and shaking the fence. I know you've seen it. I know you've seen it,
man. I'll even vicariously through their kids. I just take pictures. That's all I do. I just enjoy watching her play and take pictures of them.
I would love to see some of the moments you capture. That's a story for another day.
I told somebody the other day, I think one of my next series should be is capturing angry parents at these games. And
oh, that'd be good. I'd watch that series.
You go get posted.
Hey, you could start an Instagram. And you'd probably get some people to dial in.
Angry parents is what we'll call it.
But that brought that back. So another thing I wanted to talk about, okay? Me, myself. So about a year ago, I weighed 228 pounds, all right? Today, I'm 238 pounds. Now, by the way, just for you listeners, that's not muscle weight.
You're also tall, though. I'll give you that.
Yeah, but that don't matter. I need to get back down to my 228 pounds. How do I change this? What would you guys say?
Well, I mean, it's going to start with making some different decisions in a mindset, first. Yep. But then you got to decide. Yeah, go ahead, Adam.
No, I was going to say, it starts with what you're eating. Like Brady's saying, make decisions. Yep. It starts with what you're eating.
What are you putting into your body?
Yep. And you have to exercise. You have to do a little more. Less intake, of calories, more outtake, we'll say, of calories through exercise. Mm-hmm. I know you guys know I love Chick-fil-A. I'll never forget. There was one day that Sammy and I were going to a softball tournament several years ago, and we walk in and we're sitting to where we can see behind the counter. Okay, now first thing I did, she said, "What are you looking at?" And I said, "I'm actually looking at their screen above the drive-through window." Back then
they didn't have, weren't you?
100% were. Yes.
You can look right into the kitchen. I knew exactly where you were. That's sad, but I know that.
Back then, if you guys remember, they've changed the way they do drive-thrus now. A lot of people are doing this, not just in Chick-fil-A, but in other restaurant fast food as well. They now have the doors open up where people walk out.
Yeah. Well, I actually like that a lot better.
Yeah. Well, why? Because service is faster, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you get faster service. So back then, they had the windows. They had to hand the bag through to you. I looked up on this TV up there, and there was several key, I'm going to call them KPMs, key performance metrics. Don't know if that's what they called them, but we'll just call them that to make it good for this podcast today. And up there on the screen, they had order time, customer service time, food delivery time, and I forget what the other one was. And I know you guys are going to agree with this, but how many times have you got to a drive-thru with you and your wife and kids or whatever, and when you actually pull up to the window and your food's not ready, what do they tell you to do?
Pull forward.
Pull forward.
Pull forward to the stop sign that's at the end of the building.
That blocks the rest of the traffic.
That's right.
So here's a question. Do you guys think that they stop their metric when they have you pull forward?
Oh, 100%.
Yes.
Do they?
100%.
I have to agree with Adam.
I don't know about that.
But think about this. They've stopped their clock. Their clock is stopped because you've moved out of the way. It's time for the next.
You're out of the cycle. Forward. Other than the end of the cycle is delivering the food, but technically you're out of cycle. I would assume.
I would think so. Now, if you're a Chick-fil-A employee or manager or owner or whatever listening,
please reach out to us and let us know what the actual thing is.
We would also like a sponsorship if there's any of those for some Chick-fil-A. So.
But the thing is, the key is, even in the restaurant industry, they're tracking some kind of metrics because they know the faster they can get you the food, it's hot right off the kitchen line, that you're going to be the most satisfied customer, and you're probably going to come back, especially if your order is right, okay? So here's what we're going to talk about today. In your business, maybe it's your church, maybe it's you're a manager of a company, maybe you're an employee. what are some key metrics? Brady and I are going to talk about just a few that we do in our organization, just a few, okay? How quickly do we have, it's industry standard, Brady, that when a customer calls our office, how long should we respond back to that customer that we're on the way?
Well, I mean, in our industry, it's always been an hour.
Right.
You know,
right.
We've got a one. Now, listen, nowadays that if you wait an hour to call somebody back, that's going to be a long time. So it's actually shorter than that. But the industry standard has always been about an hour.
Yeah, and then the next metric is how long would we be on site to that customer's house, industry standard?
4 hours.
4 hours. Now, obviously, we're going to beat that time because we want to get there fast.
Yep.
And then what's the next metric is how long should we have some kind of, now again, just so everybody knows, Adam's mentioned this a couple times, we are in the restoration business, water, fire, cleanup, construction. How long should it take us to get some kind of debriefing back to the insurance company if they choose to file a claim or whatever? What's that typical time frame?
8 business hours.
8 business hours. Again, we try to beat that as well.
Yep.
There is actually a company in Birmingham, Adam, we'll see if you know who they are, that in Birmingham, Alabama, they're called On Time 59. Do you know what their slogan is?
It's On Time Electric.
It is On Time Electric. Do you know what their
Oh my
promise
gosh, as
is?
a branding guy, I should. It's like if we don't beat 59, it's on our dime or something like that.
You are so close. That was really good. No,
because we watch the news every morning, and they are a sponsor, and we hear it. Welcome to On Time Electric, and then
wait, do they have a jingle? Adam, can you sing that for me?
They do. That's what I can't. That's why I missed it.
On Time 59.
I have no shame. It was.
I don't know if they have
like,
a jingle actually.
We'll be there in 59, or it's on our dime, something like that.
You are so close. On Time 59, or we pay you 59. So basically,
I knew it was something like that.
Yeah, so basically what they say is if we have an appointment with you, we are going to be on time, or there is no $59 charge. Whatever I've never used them, so I wouldn't know how they charge.
Interesting.
But that is their motto.
It's good.
Yeah. How long does it take you to get on site? It's all about service. Think about speed of service. So no matter what industry you're in, it's about speed of service. Today's world, Brady is exactly right. If we were to wait an hour to call a customer back in our industry, they've probably called 2 or 3 other companies at this point, right? Especially the way Google works and all those other things. So, again, going back to the Chick-fil-A model, if you guys had to pull forward out of that drive-through line and you had to wait at the stop sign Brady was talking about, and you sat there and sat there and sat there and sat there, wouldn't you get upset?
Absolutely. Yeah.
What's the point of fast food if I could have gone and sat down for this?
See, we could drop the mic right there.
Yep. I could have gone to a sit-down restaurant.
That is not fast food. And it happens at other restaurants all the time. Taco Bell, McDonald's, you could go on down the list. That if you don't get your food on time, people are going to get upset. So again, key metrics. So Brady, I got a couple things for you for our team.
Okay.
So basically, anytime we have a meeting, we're pretty much talking about metrics.
Yeah.
How often should these metrics be talked about with your team for those listening out there? How often should you bring them up?
I mean, I would say as often as you can.
Yep.
Now, in an ideal world, a lot of us, we have technology that's available to us today. And so dashboards and apps and things like that should be, now again, granted, if you're putting in the right information into the system, then it should report back to you, just like Chick-fil-A. I mean, there's somebody probably sitting there pressing the button. Okay, we got the order, and then now they're pulling up, and we've started gathering the stuff. So as long as you're putting in the right information, garbage in, garbage out. But as long as you're putting the right information, we can get that information out. So typically, what we do is every time that we meet, we're looking at some type of metric. Like, and here's the analogy that I use all the time, okay? Let's say that you go to your favorite sports game.
Yeah.
Okay? Besides Upward Sports, okay? There's
where everybody wins. Everybody
That's right. Everybody wins. But let's say you go to your favorite sports game and you show up and nobody's keeping score. Is that a fun game? Probably
What's
not,
the point?
because I mean, what's the point, right? You want to know who's winning. So the only way for us to know who is winning in our organization is through the data and what the data is showing us. And are we meeting the deadlines, or are we not meeting the deadlines? Are we meeting the metrics? Are we not meeting the metrics?
Love it. So think about this. There are a lot of business owners, not even in what we would call our industry, that call Brady and I for questions and things. All that, maybe they pass us in church, maybe it's at this local store, supermarket, whatever. And I've been asked this question a lot, Brady. I'm sure you have as well. Should I share my financials with my team? What would you say?
I mean, for a long time we didn't. But I think as much as you can. I mean,
Yeah.
Are you gonna share the full thing? No, but I mean, being a business owner is a it's a big blessing in a lot of ways, and sometimes it can be burdensome depending on just the amount of information that's out there. And if you're the only one that is holding on to that information and you're not sharing it, at least with your leadership team, then you've got to be able to share that burden across, because you may have certain metrics of revenue and profit and, just certain things like that are on your profit and loss statement, your balance sheet, whatever that looks like. If you're the only one that knows that information and you're not sharing it with others, then they don't know if the company's winning or not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a great point, because I agree with you that I think there's some times where you don't need to share everything, but at least with your key managers, that's the key here. At least with your key managers. And look, let's be honest, because people say, why would I want to share that with my management team? Listen, if you can't share some of this information, again, to Brady's point, not everything, with your management team, you probably have the wrong person in the wrong seat. Okay.
That's right.
So just take that into consideration. We pride ourselves in putting people around us that they are better than us, as far as maybe they got great ideas. I'm not talking about as far as better, but maybe they got great ideas. They do a fantastic job. We need to be able to be willing to share with them the key points. Here's one, Adam. This comes home for you. Google reviews. Do they hurt you or do they help you?
Oh, 100% they help you. It's one of the key metrics that Google looks at, because then also it's consistency. Google wants to see that you have an active profile. They're not going to push businesses that people use their platform to find if they're not active, or if they're unanswered. That's why for us it's important to gain those. We have metrics right now. We break it down for how many reviews we want each of our franchises to get per year. We break it down to let them see what they're doing quarterly, so they can understand. So they have quarter goals, because those quarter goals allow them to realize, all right, well, we're supposed to hit this many in a month, but for the quarter we're behind. So we, maybe they had a slow month or something like that. So they need to look at those. So we break those down yearly, quarterly, and monthly. And then even further, we celebrate those with our team weekly. Like, hey, these are the reviews that we pulled. So we're really hitting those all from the top to the bottom with them, but it also makes a big impact. I mean, that's huge to get any of those type of things, because the Google sees it. And then also, you're talking about metrics. Google measures how quickly you respond. I mean, our goal is 24 to 48 hours. For something we hit that way less. Typically we try to do day of. Obviously over a weekend it might be tough if we get jobs over the weekend or in the evening. But our goal is 24 hours. We don't try to extend past 48. Like, we know that we need to respond within a day or so. And Google, again, they measure that data that you're measuring yourself to say, hey, this is a business we would recommend.
Yeah. So Adam, on the flip side, metrics, key performance metrics, can they hurt you?
I mean, yes, I would say so as well. When you're talking about hurting, what way are you looking into that?
So
like how?
Great question. I was actually hoping you'd ask that. So let's say that a customer puts a Google review online, right? And they give you a 1 star. Can that hurt you? Can it hurt you?
It can, because what is looked at, it takes typically 5 positive reviews to negate the weight of a negative review. So think about it. I mean, that seems unfair, right? You know, you're
Right.
would you want to walk into a fight with somebody where it's like 1 versus 5, you know, or do you want to, do you want to
Sounds
be
like
on
a bare knuckle challenge.
I know. Do you want to play basketball like 1 versus 5? No, So it's tough, but yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you've got to. So when that comes in, it's a plus and a negative. One, it says, all right, we messed up. How do we fix this? How do we flip this? So doing that's where you say, yes, it can hurt you. But I think the positive way in that too is sometimes when we do receive those, it gives us such an opportunity to fix that. And we've had many a times where, we're not perfect. Things don't always go well. There's also things out of our control that we can't control, whether that's a customer needing a certain product or something they're trying to get ordered that's on back order. Sometimes they don't understand that, and we get that. But with that negative metric, it gives us an opportunity to fix it. And we've had time where customers will go back and update a review, make it positive, and say, hey, I had a bad experience at first. They came, they fixed it, and they reached out. And for us, I always tell our team, that's a positive, because that let customers know if we don't get it right, we're going to fix it. So I think, I think that metric also helps. Sometimes it does that. That's the reason why we have a process when a negative review comes in to figure it out. And then we know we have a clock to figure out, all right, we got to fix this. So we can flip that metric.
Yeah, and on the flip side too, as far as can it hurt you, I think a lot of people, to your point, they don't really have a review process in place. Let's be honest. I mean, you guys probably do the same thing. You want to go to local restaurants, don't you look up their Google reviews, especially if you've never been to this place? I mean, if people are complaining about the food and the service and all, you're probably not going to go, right? Yeah. So it can hurt you in a way if you don't have positive Google reviews on there. An owner looks at this one, let's just say it's 1 or 2 reviews that are 1 star, and they go, oh no, not another one. We used to be in the same boat until we had so many positive reviews. We actually were like, team, you did a great job on this. Maybe we had a communication breakdown, whatever. To your point, it can turn the opposite way. Yep. And I know you mentioned this too, employee recognition for you owners and managers listening is a big thing. Brady and Adam, we pride ourselves on making sure that we recognize our employees for getting those, and they look forward to that. It's a big thing. Here's one, and I know we've done this in our organization even recently. We talked about coffee with the CEO. I think it was the last episode or 2 episodes ago. But what about doing some type of, how do you want, everything we've been talking about to this point is external metrics, right? What can we do to help the customer?
Do internally.
But from an internal perspective, have you ever considered in your business, or again, your company, whatever, have you ever considered asking for anonymous feedback from your team about your organization?
Well, nobody ever wants to hear the negative.
That's right.
You got to be able to accept the constructive criticism. And I can tell you as a creative, that's very hard. That's very hard. Yeah. But I mean, I also understand that when you do that, I mean, that's something, Benji, you and I have had many conversations, because you're just a supportive person. That's just your personality. That's who you are. And we've had conversations where I'm like, Benji, tell me it looks terrible. Like, it's okay. Like, I need you to say, this is not your best work. So if I do something and it's not, then I need to know that. If there's something that it seems like, hey, I know you have the capability of doing this, I feel like you're not giving the attention. Like I think that constructive criticism needs to be happening, whether that is anonymous, or just giving that metric. Like, hey, and hey, this is the work I've seen you do, and this is the work that you're doing that we did on this. It's just, again, I think that's extremely important. It's not easy, but I think it's somebody you've got to be able to handle that.
Yeah, Brady, you've done, again, coffee with the CEO recently, and we have our employees in there give us positive feedback, maybe some things that we need to improve on. What have we seen from our people just with that? Because I see your recap every week, and it's pretty good stuff.
Well, and when you do that too, Brady, in the caveat with what Benji's asking, some also to add into what he's doing, I was going to see, if you don't mind, talk a little bit about how you're doing that, but also what I love is you're giving recognition based on your core values. I've noticed you've done that the past couple of weeks, where you're giving recognition inside of what you're saying, hey, this is what is our core values, and then you're giving people in that. So I know that's a whole bunch we threw at you, but I just wanted to make sure, because I thought that was really neat that you've been doing that lately.
Yeah. So, and I think we're going to do another podcast episode on core values and how we recently changed ours up. But yeah, based off of that is we started doing this thing called Coffee with the CEO, to where we started 3 weeks ago, and over the course of like 24 to 30 weeks or something like that, sitting down with every person in the organization, and really for three purposes. One is to roll out the core values individually from us to them, right? So that's the first purpose. But the other purpose was finding out what's going well in the organization. So we start out with a positive, and we get everybody to, typically there's about 5 people that's in there, but finding out what's going well in the organization. And then the third thing is, tell me what challenges we're having, so, and we've heard a lot of good feedback, and to this point, when you're looking at data, okay, and so we're getting all this feedback, right, Benji? And what we're looking at is what we're looking for are trends, okay? We're not necessarily a one-off. Yeah, somebody had a bad experience here, a bad experience here, or what those things are. But what are the commonalities? And then we take those commonalities and say, okay, what do we need to do about that? Okay, so a big one for us, and sometimes you think you're doing things really well, and you're like, well, we need to reevaluate that. So one of the big things that has come out is communication. And you got all these, we're about up to 180, 190 employees, something like that. But it's hard to communicate to 190 people. Yeah. So that's something that we have to figure out how to do better. And I think we've gotten better over the last 12 to 24 months. But that's something that has come out of these sessions by us asking these questions. And then, what we're doing to speak to what you were talking about, Adam, is how do we engage with our people related to the core values? And so we have our payroll platform called Paycor. There's a recognition feature that's in there, goes out to everybody. And so we want people to recognize where people are doing something really well, and we're tying that back to the core, one of our new 7 core values that says, hey, Adam, you know what? You were doing an amazing job doing this podcast and producing it. You are really following through on relentless execution, which is one of our core values. So we could go in Paycor and we could recognize Adam for that. And then what we're doing is every week we're tallying those up, and through our communication channel with Slack with our entire organization is we're saying, hey, there were 5 people that really embodied relentless execution. They got called out this week by their peers. And so we're posting that on there. So it's just a way of communication and reinforcing, and that's another data point as well to see, okay, well, now we've got 3 weeks worth of data to say, we got a lot of people that are pursuing excellence and less people that are data wins. So now how can we focus more on the ones that we keep what we're doing, but focus on the ones that we're having some challenges with, and how do we make those a little bit better?
Yeah, and there's obviously, like Brady said, there's many, taking this data that we're getting, there's many tools out there that you can use. Google Sheets, Excel, obviously AI with ChatGPT, you can plug stuff in.
Just
you can
don't
pretty
copy
much
and
get
paste.
anything.
Don't copy
That's
and
true.
paste.
That's right. But here's the biggest question. Obviously, there's lots of tools, right? What if you fail? Let's say you get all this data, okay? What if you fail to use the data? What could happen?
Well, what's the point of collecting it if you're not that's my first thought is
exactly.
What's the point? It feels like it's every moment of your day, finding pockets of time. Your time is one of your most valuable commodities that you can control if you're controlling it the right way. So if you're spending the time and effort to collect it, but you're not using it, then what's the point in that? I don't know. That's my first thing. I don't know if that.
No, I agree with you.
That's my first thought. I'm like, then why are you collecting it?
Yeah,
I think that's a big point. I mean, you're wasting a lot of time by doing it. So, by using the data, you want to use it for good. Mm-hmm. And if you get a lot of that, then you can curate that to help drive whatever those KPMs or those KPIs are. It's supposed to help you make better decisions.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's why we say data drives decisions.
Yeah.
You know,
But if you don't use it,
if
to
you
your
don't
point,
use it, and
if you don't use it, then you're probably going to be making some bad decisions.
well, and I think too, something that's important, because we've heard this a lot, especially in the position that you guys have been in, training and helping other serve pros and things like that. They're like, hey, show us, how are you guys being successful with things? Though the first things I find, if somebody's like, well, I mean, I don't understand, like, how are you doing this? Like, for instance, we have a company we use to help with our digital marketing. And they're like, well, how do you know it's making you money? I'm like, well, we track it. And they were like,
Yeah. Oh, you do that?
wait, what? Because they'll be like, because what's funny is they'll come and be like, oh, well, this company's, I hate, they're way too expensive and they're not making us money. They're not making us money. It's a waste of money. I'm like, all right, well, I said, well, how many calls are you getting? How many of those are you converting? Of the calls you convert, what's your average dollar per job? And they're like, well, I don't know. And I think, well, how can you, for us to say, well, this company doesn't work, we need to have valuable data. Now, it's helped us in the past, like, hey, this company actually doesn't work, we need to move on. But I think too, if you're in a position where you're trying to figure out if a system's working for your business, you have to first look, do I have the data to prove that, or is that just an emotional choice? Do I just emotionally think, oh, I hate this, it doesn't work? You can say that all you want, but emotion doesn't drive financial. Yes, you can have a passion for something, you can love something. I as a creator, that I 100% understand that. But you can't make decisions based off emotions. We have to make decisions based off numbers. Brady, you and I have walked through that a lot, even in some of our other markets.
Oh, yeah.
We've had some,
Oh, yeah.
and I'm me as an emotional person, and that's something.
What?
no.
Every year on my evaluation, it was always the top. Like, we got to not be emotional. So I'm aware of it. But there's some decisions we had to make to cut some things that was tough to cut.
Yeah.
But the data showed. I mean, you can't deny data. So as you're talking about that, Benji, I think anybody listening, if you're struggling in an area the first question you should even ask yourself is, do I have the data?
Yes.
To prove it, or whatever? Do I have that to show?
Yes, that's exactly right. So if you don't, again, to your point, if you don't use the data, why even start using it? Now, we want to encourage you to start with something, whatever that is. Track something. And then as you get better at it, again, you can go on and on. I've got a list. We'll put it in the show notes for you. And yes, 100% guys, this is Chat GPT, because I have not read any of these books. But I will tell you, I did look these up. Brady would say I wouldn't recommend anything unless I've read it myself, but I did look these books up. They do exist, okay? Just a couple. Data Science for Business, Foster Provost. You got Data Driven, Creating a Data Culture. That was a key one that came to mind. You got Thinking Fast and Slow. The point of that one is making sure that you're interpreting the right kind of data, because you don't want to just put something out there and just hope it hits. Really spend time diving into it. Another one, Predictive Analysis, the power to predict who will click, buy, lie, or die. Basically, how can I make strategic decision-making process across these different fields? As we wrap this show up, guys, just a few key takeaways, okay? Data can drive decisions, not just in business, but in your day-to-day life. We talked about the softball coach, the weight loss, the restaurant world. Again, in our business, anything data drives decisions, anything you do. Challenge yourself. Go ahead. Sorry, Adam.
Oh no, you're just talking about those things. I just wanted to point out too, if y'all have questions about this, if you're listening, you're like, all right, well, how's that? If you go to our website, higheruppodcast.com, and you click on our team on the bottom, there's a place that you can ask these questions, and we'll answer them. So if you have something for Benji or Brady to ask them about how they're making business decisions, these are things that we would like to cover. I mean, yes, we're working on some of these episodes based on, like they said in our last episode, you heard Benji and Brady both. These are things that they are dealing with in their business. But if there's something you're dealing with in yours, we'll dive into it for an entire episode. So go there. Again, higheruppodcast.com. Go to our team. Under that, you'll actually see a place that you can put your name, your email, and then just what you're dealing with or questions that you may have about your business.
Yeah, and in the show notes too, there's a little link that says ask a question, submit a question. You can do that as well.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Sorry, I was trying to catch you before you
No,
hit
you're
your
good.
sign off. I was like, hold on. Make sure
You're
y'all
good.
do this.
We mentioned this a few minutes ago. Challenge yourself and your team to start with something, 1 to 3. Don't start with more than that, okay? Because you can get too overwhelmed in it. Start with 1 to 3, and then once your team gets it done, you can add others. And last but not least, celebrate the results of your team exceeding or getting complimented. That is very important to your culture. Again, Brady said we're going to talk about on one of the next episodes about our core values, how we realign those, and what it's really doing inside our organization. Guys, you got any closing thoughts before we take it offline?
I've got. Brady has a dad joke before we.
I do
finish.
Oh,
I do.
Yeah.
This
That's
would be
what I was
really.
waiting on. That's why I jumped in earlier, because I was like, when Benji gets rolling, he'll hit his closeout, and I'm like, hold on, I want to hear this. I need to see if he has one.
So this is going to be along the lines with data. Okay. All right.
Let's hear it.
So 85% of people, it's a known fact, 85% of people don't know how to do math. I'm just glad that I'm a part of the other 25%.
Oh.
I
Wow.
can tell you
Okay.
I'm part of the 85, and you know this, working with me firsthand.
Adam, I hope you realize 85 and 25 don't add up to 100.
I know that. That's why I said that.
Okay. Okay, there we go. Hey, guys, as always,
that
thanks
was
for
my dad joke.
thanks
What's
for
funny
listening
is
in.
somebody's listening right now, and they're like, does he know
Wait.
that was my joke? So the funny thing is, I probably sat in meetings with Brady where he said this, and he's looked at me like, Adam, you know that doesn't match, right? And I'm like, I do now.
I do.
Listeners, thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, share the episode. If you're on YouTube, you can share it. However you can help get the word out. We're seeing tremendous traction with this, and we just want to be a blessing and help other people in their business. As always, you can connect on social media at Higher Up Podcast on our platforms. I think we're on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook.
We own everything.
YouTube, wherever. As always, go out there and choose to live a higher up life. See you next time.